Good morning. Welcome to Friday's One Word Devotional. I'm Gary, one of the pastors here at Center Point First Baptist Church. I'm glad you join us. We just want to I just want an encouraging word for you this morning. I got a unique word this morning. This morning, the word I chose is stones or rocks. I got me a rock right here. And it's not a very big one, but I want us to kind of think about the word stones this morning. Let me tell you a story. If you remember, maybe you're familiar with the story of Moses and the crossing of the Red Sea, that as Israel approached the Red Sea, Moses raised his staff and the water parted and Israel walked across the dry riverbed of the Red Sea. But God not only did it once, he did it once again at the Jordan River. This time Joshua was the leader. Israel was facing Jericho across the Jordan River, and it was time to cross. And this time God didn't have a staff for Joshua to raise, but the priests were carrying the ark, and as soon as their feet touched the water stopped flowing. It stopped flowing from upstream and it stopped flowing from downstream, and Israel once again walked across on dry land. After they got across on the river, Joshua sent the people back. He sent 12 people. Here's what it says. He chose 12 guys to go back and collect some rocks, some stones from the center of the Jordan River. Joshua chose 12 men. He called them together. He told them, go to the middle of the river bed where the sacred chest is and pick up a large rock. Carry it on your shoulder to our camp. There are 12 of you, so there will be one rock for each tribe. Someday your children will ask you, why are these rocks here? Then you can tell them how the water stopped flowing when the chest was being carried across the river. These rocks will always remind our people of what happened today. What it was, the rocks, the stones, were a symbol of God's work. They were a reminder of a God story. And that's what I want us to think about. You know, my front yard, I have a bunch of rocks in my front yard. I've collected over the years from places I've gone. This rock right here is a rock that reminds me of Vacation Bible School. We used rocks one time. The kids drew on them. I can't remember what they did, but I remember the kids in Vacation Bible School. I got a big rock, a rock probably 3 feet across in my front yard. I remember when we went to Folsom Lake as kids, probably 8, 9 years old, as a family, my brothers and my mom and dad, and we gathered this big rock and put it in the back of the truck and brought it home. And my dad gave me that rock, and it sits in my front yard. I got a little rock at home I picked up from where my great-great-great-grandfather is buried in the northwest corner of Georgia. I have rocks that remind me of stories. And what Joshua is saying here is we need a reminder to remember stories. And so I wanted to encourage you. We're going to face life, and there's going to be times we want to know where God's at. There's going to be times when we're depressed, when there's anxiety, when there's stress. We've been talking about being overwhelmed. But there's going to be times when we need to remember that God is a God who acted in the past. And so I want us to create God stories. I want you to find a way to create God stories. Maybe you want to keep a journal. Maybe you want to collect some rocks, like I have these rocks remind me of some personal stories. What can you do to collect those God stories for you? So when the times come and somebody says, what are these for? You can tell them the story of what God has done for you. What do you do when you're struggling? You got God stories. Stories of the past that God has touched you. Not just stories in the Word, stories He's touched you personally. So I wanted to encourage you to collect some rocks, to get some stones, stack them up as a reminder of what God can do. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk more about that because we're going to talk about how to overcome hopelessness on Sunday. It's part of the story. So why don't you join me Sunday for a little more, and we'll have a great time talking about reminders from God. God bless you. Have a great week. I'll see you Sunday right here in person, online, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at. I want to have a message that God has for you to encourage you. God bless you. See you Sunday.